All right, let's get into this. So, you know the scene. You've just got your coffee. Maybe you're trying to get out the door, and then you hear it, that that word from your toddler. No.
Oh, yeah, the classic no.
Exactly. Morning rush, socks, mealtime battles, bedtime pajamas. It just pops up everywhere, right?
Yeah.
And it can feel, well, it feels like a challenge. Like it's designed to just stop everything.
It really can feel that way, like a personal affront sometimes.
But what if it's not really about defiance or, manipulation or just being rude? Today, in this deep dive, we're really going to explore what's behind that toddler no. We want to shift how we see it, understand what it really means, and maybe even see how it can be, well, a tool for connection, not just frustration. And the core idea we found right off the bat is pretty surprising, that no, it isn't necessarily what we think.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually a vital step, a really beautiful part of their development.
Yeah.
It's like this early declaration of, hey, I'm me. I'm not being difficult. I'm just figuring out how to be me.
Yeah, absolutely. Developmentally, this isn't just like a phase they need to get through. It's huge. It's a massive leap in how they see themselves. Around 2, kids start to really grasp, that they're separate people, not just extensions of their parents or caregivers. They have their own thoughts, their own feelings, their own wants. And saying no, well, that becomes a favorite way to test out this new idea, this emerging sense of agency.
Agency. Okay.
It's not really aimed at you personally. It's more like pure communication. They're asserting themselves, growing. It's pretty profound, actually.
Okay, so when my kid digs her heels in about, I don't know, putting on pajamas or brushing teeth, something that seems so small to us,
Mm-hmm.
what's
Yeah.
actually happening inside their head? Are they, deliberately trying to control the situation, or is it
Yeah.
more instinctual?
It's mostly instinctual exploration, I'd say. It's their way of asking pretty loudly sometimes, do I get a choice here?
Mm.
They're figuring out what it feels like to have some say over their own body, their actions. It's less about consciously defying you
Yeah.
and much more about discovering themselves, which, leads us right into how we, as adults, respond to that.
Right. Because a reaction matters a lot.
Yeah. It really does.
You mentioned dignity earlier,
Mm.
and that makes so much sense. But I bet some listeners are thinking, okay, but does this mean I just give in all the time?
Yeah.
How do we validate them without just caving?
That's the key question, isn't it?
Yeah, because when we react with frustration or maybe even force the issue,
Mm-hmm.
we're basically sending that message back, nope, you don't get to choose. How does that land on them, on that little developing sense of self?
Well, it can feel like a real loss of dignity, just like it would for us, right? If someone
Yeah.
just dismissed our feelings or our autonomy, it's disempowering. But contrast that with responding calmly, with clear, respectful leadership,
Yeah.
boundaries, but respectful ones. That sends a totally different message. It says, yes, you matter. Yes, I hear you. And yes, I'm still the guide here.
Okay.
It's not about dropping all the rules or saying yes to everything, not at all. It's about leading with empathy, acknowledging their selfhood even as you guide them.
Okay, so we've talked about the why behind the no
Yeah.
and how our reactions play into it. But knowing this is one thing,
Mm-hmm.
actually doing it when you're tired and they're refusing shoes again, that's another story. So how do we actually do it? Acknowledge their voice, but still hold the line. The sources mention limited choices.
Exactly. The art of limited choices.
It's
And
what-
it's subtle. It's not just throwing out random options.
Yeah.
It's about shifting their internal feeling from, I have to obey, to, I actually have some say here.
Okay, give me an example. Like the pajamas.
Yeah, the pajamas. So instead of put your pajamas on and a W, you could try, hey, do you want the blue pajamas or the red ones tonight?
Okay.
Or maybe, do you want to put them on yourself, or would you like me to help you? See, you're still getting the pajamas on. That's the boundary.
Right, the boundary is clear.
But they get a say in how. The key is avoiding fake choices where the outcome is fixed anyway.
Oh yeah, kids see through those.
They totally do. Or giving them too many choices, which just overwhelms them. You've heard them, given them agency within that clear limit.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But what about when you do offer choices, like good choices, and they still just yell no? I remember this one time with toothbrushing. I thought I was being so clever with the choices.
In there.
And nope, just a flat no. It really tests your patience, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. And in those moments, the advice is often about a quiet invitation, no pressure. So maybe they're resisting getting dressed. You could try saying something like, okay, it looks like you're not quite ready yet. That's all right. I'm going to start making breakfast. Just let me know when you're ready to get dressed.
Huh. So less confrontation.
Less confrontation, more space. Often cooperation happens when they feel that respect, when they feel like they have the autonomy to come to the yes themselves. It builds trust.
And this applies to food too, right? Mealtime power struggles are
Oh,
huge.
definitely. So instead of just no throwing food,
Right.
which often just escalates things,
Yeah, totally.
you can try linking it to a natural consequence, like the source suggested. I need the food to stay on your plate. If you're throwing it, that tells me you're probably done eating right now. I'll save the rest for later if you get hungry again.
Hmm. Firm, but not blaming.
Exactly. No blame, no shame. You're just responding to the behavior's message, which is often about wanting some control. You state the boundary, acknowledge their action, but the choice, ultimately, is theirs.
It really comes back to that core idea, doesn't it? The no is often just them saying, see me, let me have a say.
That's the heart of it, offering those limited, thoughtful choices that gives them that feeling of power, of self-efficacy, but in a way that works for everyone. It supports their independence and keeps things, relatively harmonious at home.
Now, you mentioned something earlier about turning this challenge into something more joyful,
Yeah.
playful even. That sounds counterintuitive, maybe.
It can sound that way, but our sources highlighted some really interesting playful approaches. And it's not just distracting them, it's genuinely reframing the whole interaction.
Okay, like how?
Think about bath time. Instead of a fight over splashing, maybe you make it a silly game. You could say, like, "Woo, don't you dare pour that water again," with a playful tone.
And they just giggle and do it more.
Exactly. Or maybe it's getting socks on. Instead of a command, you could playfully chase them with the sock, like, "Grr, you'll never catch the sock monster."
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I can see that.
They're not really disobeying in those moments, not in the way we think. They're exploring,
Yeah.
having fun, feeling the joy of having an effect on you, safely challenging you, feeling strong.
So it answers that deeper question they might have.
Precisely. That question. Can I push the limits, test things out, and still be loved, still be safe?
Right.
And when we join in that playfulness, the answer we give them is a huge, resounding yes.
That feels really important.
It is. It helps them learn emotional regulation too. They see that big feelings, challenges, they can be navigated within a relationship that feels secure and loving. Just reinforces that core idea. Parenting is about connection, way more than it's about control. And connection, it grows where respect lives.
Mm.
So zooming out then, thinking long term, how does handling no in this way actually shape them as they grow older?
Well, responding with empathy and respect, it's not just about managing today's tantrum. It's literally shaping the adults they'll become. These kids learn their voice matters, but they also learn how to respect other people's boundaries. They learn to say no clearly, respectfully for themselves,
Uh-huh.
and also how to hear no from others with a bit more grace.
That's a huge life skill.
Isn't it? So if your toddler's saying no a lot, honestly, you're probably not doing it wrong. It likely means you're raising a child who feels safe enough with you to actually be honest.
That's a comforting thought.
It is. You're building trust, real trust that lasts. And on those really tough days, remember that quote from L.R. Nost?
Which one?
When little people are overwhelmed by big emotions, it's our job to share our calm, not join their chaos.
Yes. Share our calm.
That calm presence, it's often the most powerful thing we can offer.
Okay, so for everyone listening, parents, caregivers, navigating this stage, let's boil down some actionable takeaways, maybe go a bit deeper on a few. First, that pause. Before you react to the no, just taking that breath, calmly acknowledging it, that speaks volumes. It says,
Yeah.
I hear you.
Huge. That tiny pause changes everything. Second, really mastering those limited choices. Not just any choices, but meaningful ones that give real agency within safe limits. Like we said, coat before shoes or after shoes. Simple, but effective.
Bird.
Consistency, absolutely crucial. When boundaries are clear, predictable, and held respectfully, kids feel safer. They know what to expect. That predictability is security for them.
Right. It's not about being rigid, but reliable.
Okay, fourth.
Think of no as a bridge, maybe, not a barrier. Use playfulness, gentle negotiation, even letting them say no in a silly game. It reminds them they're seen, their opinion counts. It builds their sense of self-worth.
And finally, model it yourself. Let your kids see you say no sometimes, setting your own healthy boundaries, but doing it with kindness and patience. They learn so much by watching us, how to protect their own needs respectfully.
Wow. Okay, so this whole no stage, it's really not about disobedience at its core. It's development. It's growth.
Exactly. Every time we meet that refusal with respect, offer a calm choice, hold a boundary with love, we're using powerful tools. We're helping raise kids who are confident, empathetic, secure, It's a gift, really, for them and honestly for us too.
It really reframes the whole experience.
Yeah.
And just to leave you with something to mull over, think about this. As you learn to embrace and understand your child's no, their natural drive for autonomy,
Hmm.
how might that also help you as an adult become better at recognizing and respecting your own needs, your own boundaries in your own life? Something to think about.